Hello, this is London Silver, and this is about my fourth attempt, so you could probably think how many times I've done this about yesterday, and now I'm seeing a pattern. But let's get on to this video, but before that, I'd like to say go visit my O3 account with at least 3 different stories that you can pick from, one with 5 chapters, more than 600 words, one with about 200 words, which is 1 chapter, and another one which is the Rapunzel thing, crossover thing. Of course, not really crossover, more like ideas. So go visit that, and it's called London Silver 1223. Not 3, sorry, 5. It's basically the same thing as my actual account, and if you can't actually find it by name, then search up Healing and Hurting are 2 very similar songs, and hope you find it. Now let's get into this. Last time, Izuku interrupted a fight by saying enough, and so let's get into this. You dare come into my home, my land, and dare to fight and destroy my home for some personal grudge, Izuku yelled, having everyone stop and look at the 23-foot man, seemingly to get a little bit taller and taller by the minute. Izuku says this, he makes hand motions to signify his anger, and in the process making his eyes glow, little static shocks of lightning in his hands, and clouds start to form over them, becoming darker and darker. The punch did meet, and both ends were injured, moderately and severely, and due to the blast. But Izuku continued to yell. The absolute audacity for you to come into my land and have a battle that will evidently end in my land or home, or even both, to be destroyed or damaged. I will not let you get away with this. And you, Izuku points at All Might and his group, you have brought these heathens into my home, and even if you did not anticipate this, you should be responsible for your and their actions. All Might did not expect this reaction from the god, because seeming to be hundreds or even thousands of years old, and expected the man to question the reason for this brawl, but he did not expect this. All Might questioned if he wanted to continue the fight or settle down Izuku. Izuku looks down at them, and they all put their weapons down in hands, as to say, they give up. And he then says, "Now, leave. I will not have this in my land." The cowardly group left, and All Might was left there with the god, also with his group. David Shield speaks up and says, "Sir Foolish." Izuku looks down and went into his smaller form and says, "Yes," clearly annoyed by what happened a few seconds ago. And he says, "Would you mind if we stayed here, with your permission, of course? We are sorry for the inconvenience to you, so we plead for your forgiveness, and let us stay to the distance of any society to take us in, and the uncertain safety of traveling at night, and with the other team coming after us. So what I am saying is, could you please take us in for the night?" Izuku looks down and takes a breath and says, "I guess in this case you have nowhere to go. In a sense, I do need to take you all in, and most of you had no idea or even had any part in this. And some of you are injured from the blast, so I must. Come with me, and I will lead you to your rooms. Those of you who are injured, lay down when we get there, and I will come to you in a moment." They all follow the god back into the temple. They walk into a large room with beds and cabinets. They thank Izuku, and he says, "No need. I just take this as a temporary stay, but you are welcomed." Now, for those who are injured, lay down so I can heal you. Izuku then kneels down to the bed and heals them with magic. And those who are severely wounded, he used potions, which intrigued others around him, but didn't say a word. He then says, and now I shall leave. If you need anything, just ask the servants. Izuku leaves the room and walks into his chambers and thinks, I did the one thing I tried not to do. I got involved with humans. Should I have just let them take the riches? No. They would have gotten the revival book, and, well, it didn't turn out so well back then. I took the right course of action, but I didn't execute it correctly. I should have just scared them off or killed them when I didn't see them as actual people, not just some animal that wasn't important. But how about we build something to get my mind off of things? Izuku then walks through the halls of the temple, and he reaches the end where the temple slopes down into the ocean, and he walks in the water. And when he is waist deep, his legs turn into a shark tail, and he swims underwater, traveling deeper into the temple and deeper into the ocean, being completely underwater, and grabbing some supplies for the build. We then go to the students of the group, and Melissa at the entrance of the water, looking as they see Izuku going farther away, and Melissa says, how will we keep going when he's underwater? One of the students says, I have a water quirk. I can make an air bubble so we can breathe and not be wet. Melissa then says, great idea. The student then makes the air bubble, and they continue to walk in the temple. We then cut to Izuku going to an underwater garden with sea life and plants everywhere, and looked beautiful. Izuku then goes into his inventory and holds small blocks that are different varieties and materials, and he turns into his 23 feet form and is bigger than everything around him as he goes into a clearing and starts to build. The students and Melissa around him The students and Melissa marvel at the construction as he holds a tiny block and he places more than what is in his hand. Izuku continues to make a sort of place of worship for the heart of the sea, which is a shard of his soul that gives mortals near to be able to breathe underwater and not be hindered to move around underwater. But those who try to take the heart will be electrocuted. Izuku, for hours, built the small shrine for the heart, and the students just watched in amazement as block after block was placed, and soon it became a beautiful masterpiece that was beautiful yet ancient and full of secrets, even though it had only been built right there and then, but yet ancient. As Izuku stared at the temple, he went to the entrance of the temple and went back as the students followed farther behind. As Izuku went to his chambers, the students went to theirs, and the day slowly fell into night. Izuku's POV. I woke up in my chambers and rose from my bed and walked out of my doors to see one of my younger followers that were my servants, by choice of course, at the side of me. And they look up and hold out a clam. I then bend down and grab it. I then open it to see a gold-colored pearl necklace that is with a gold chain. It looked handmade. I then looked down and smiled at the small child. The child then walked away, and I waved as they walked with a pep in their step, which made me smile even more with my sharp, toothy grin. I then looked at the necklace more closely. It had a carving at the bottom with my name on it, which was gold and held the pearl in place. I then walked around the temple, pacing the floors as I thought of where I should travel next in the next couple of years. Or maybe a few years. Should I go to Japan again? My thoughts were interrupted by a tug on my robes as I looked down to see Foolish Jr. with Finley in his arms, and says, "Good morning, Dad." Junior says tiredly, holding his baby sister in his arms. I crouch down and say, "I'll take Finley. You can wait at the table for breakfast." He nods and I take Finley in my palms since I was still in my 23 feet form. As I watch Junior walk to the dining room to sit down, Finley then wakes up and I do baby talk at her and she giggles and grabs my finger, or tried to. I was still in my 23 feet form and still melts my heart. I walk in the kitchen and find some of the servants getting the kitchen ready for today. I say, "Could you make breakfast for 2 and maybe some baby food? After you can make yourself some breakfast." They agreed and got to cooking. I then walk out and get to the dining room and see Junior sitting down while drinking some juice. I then sit down and sit Finley on the baby chair, even though it was a bit difficult in my 23 feet form, but I manage. I sit down myself and see the food being brought in as we start eating. I then hear footsteps and look behind me, ready to attack, as I remember, "Oh, I have guests. Well, I have to be a good host." I then see it's most of them and Melissa, and Melissa says, "Sir Foolish." I then say, "No need to worry, you are my guests. I have to be the best host, so let me get the food ready." I then go to the kitchen and say, "I apologize for the hindrancing you all, but I forgot about our guests, so could you possibly make food for them?" The servants seem to understand and say it's fine and it will take a while. I then thank them and walk back to the dining room where they have seated themselves, not very close to Junior or Finley. They must at least think they're relatives or something close. I then take a seat and watch as Junior and Finley eat their food. The others' food comes and they eat as well, and I thought I should start eating as well so I don't seem rude. Breakfast passes and I say, "When do you think you'll have a chance to travel back? I only have so many resources, so I would be grateful if you could arrange that soon." David takes the lead and probably not letting All Might converse with me in fear that I will be annoyed, which is somewhat true. He then says, "It will take at least less than a day, at most 1 more night. Of course, we will try our best to not overstay our welcome, since we have caused you so much trouble." I then say, "Well, I hope you have a peaceful journey." I then get approached by a small animal that was similar to the size of a mouse or a rat, but had ears like a bear, but it had on a suit that would be seen in a business setting. It then starts to speak, which makes my eyes widen, but it didn't seem to notice. And the little mouse rat bear thing then says, "I am Nezu, Sir Foolish. I have an offer for you." I then say, "What kind of offer?" The mouse, Nezu, then says, "Would you like to work for me? I am a principal at a university for heroes." Heroes, right, that was a thing here in this world. I mean, as long as I'm not on a side, I'm alright. I mean, it's not like I'm going to be in conflict or that matters. Will that make me a teacher? Will I do something mundane? I hope it's not something too important so I could just drop it when I feel like it. I then look down on the Nezu and say, "What role would I be doing?" Nezu then says, "If you would want to be, well, a teacher or maybe a bodyguard for a certain class or a nurse. Since I've seen your skills in person, and would that be possible? A nurse wouldn't be so bad. They barely go anywhere, but it would be nice to being a teacher." Wait, how old are they? I then say, "A nurse doesn't sound all that bad. By the way, how old are the students?" Nezu then says, 21 to 22. Oh great, they're my age. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Oh, how wrong is he? But that's the end, and I hope you enjoyed this part of What If Deku Was Foolish. I hope you have a good day, or whatever the hell it is where you are, and have a good one. This is London Silver, and bye-bye.